So thank you for joining us yet again for another episode of Tuesday Connect. My name is Pastor Sam Mithiga, and today we have an amazing show lined up for you guys. But allow me to introduce the crew, starting from my left.
This is a gamble by you. My name is Ramson, and I'm part of the staff here.
Last episode, you had to explain to us where you got that name. Is this the episode where you get to tell us? Some future episode.
No. Yeah.
All right.
One day.
All right. And your hater here who said it was, what did it say?
And my name is Kadu. I said, most likely his father was an engineer who designed microwaves. So Ramson. Anyway, my name is Kadu. Gideon with an E.
Gideon, all right.
Gideon.
And on my right.
Hi guys, my name is Baraka.
All right, so there you have it. As I mentioned, today we're going to talk about something very interesting, and it's about, do I bring it out right now? Some whole issue of gambling.
Yeah.
Some of you might want to call it winning, which brings me to my first question to the guys here. Have you guys ever experienced the joy of winning something? You know, I can share something. You know, there's a time when I was lining up in one of the biggest supermarkets now in this country. This supermarket had a promotion. If you are at the counter paying for your goods, you know, and then they had one of those spin charts or whatever. If they spin and the number comes to the number of the counter you are in, they are paying for your shopping. You know, it was a time when we were doing our monthly shopping. Not too bob. You know, so they reached that time where they were spinning the wheel. And they spun that thing. And I was like, please, God, this is the day you visit me with winning. Because I always desire to win something in my life. And I'm not one of those lucky guys who has won something. So I'm like, wow, this is my day. You know that I saw that arrow just going, the wheel just going, you know, to a number close to me. And it went just close to me. And it went almost up to my counter and then stopped to the next counter. I tell you the truth, I felt so bad. The feeling I felt, you know, because I knew this was my day. The Lord had finally visited on me. I felt like I had lost something. You guys who have won, have you ever experienced the joy of winning?
Yeah, it's so interesting. You actually had money in your pocket to shop.
Yeah.
You're feeling bad.
Yeah, I felt bad. I felt bad. I don't know whether I celebrated the guy who won. They were like, I've won. I was like, shut up.
Hata hawezi kupea points zake.
But as
I do not know whether I thanked.
as an Arsenal fan,
I'm so happy for
we've had a good run. We are winning.
Eh?
So I mean, ask me other questions. Don't ask
What have you won?
don't ask this question to
You
Kadu.
win a
Kadu has lost much in
So,
his
I mean,
life.
win a friendly. Win a friendly. Yeah.
I've won a lot of games playing as a footballer. But I used to play for a team called Gogovivu FC.
Gogovivu.
Yes.
Ilikuwa na wavivu.
Gogovivu was a serious team, man. So sometimes I would be the winger, sometimes I would half the times I was the striker. And almost every season, man, I was the top scorer. But so we won. But talking about in this context,
How bad was that team? Okay.
No, the team they were playing against.
You know, by that I'm trying to be very modest because if you come to my house and see my trophy cabinet,
Kadu ni trophies of participation.
I'm trying to be very humble. If you come and you see how much I have, so much.
So let me be modest. But I've won. I've actually won a toaster.
In
At supermarket. All those promotions, yeah.
Wow.
I don't think I was so excited.
You're not so excited?
I don't know, man. It was kind. It was a toaster. I think it was like 3 Gs.
I have a better toaster at home.
Last year I almost won, actually, in the Super. And I decided to give my points to the person behind me. And actually that person won. They were giving to the 100th shopper. They right here in town, actually. And the whole supermarket came to a standstill. They all cheered. I was really happy.
And it could have been you. Am I not really?
No,
I was happy that I decided I'm going to give my points to the person behind me. It happened that now it indicated they were the 100th.
instead of you being the 100th winner. Yeah.
Yeah, what did they win?
Last year.
Wow. It's one of those laying down your lives for others.
Yeah.
Greater love has no
Mistaken.
one than this, for a man to lay down his life for a stranger.
If there is
Wow, Baraka.
mistaken identity, this is mistaken love.
Baraka is ready for heaven. Okay. I gave my place to another. Rami, you do have this desire to win. Do you see guys winning sijui cars, winning, and
Yeah.
how many of you have experienced the joy?
I have experiences like yours. Going to the shop and they're like 100th winner or CG. So I no longer wait for those things. And,
Yeah. You've
I've,
moved on.
yeah, me, I've just won in sports, in this other, and winning in life. But in this supermarkets thing, never.
Now, talking about gambling, because we said that's what we're talking about today. What do you guys think about just the rise of like hundreds and hundreds of betting companies all around the world? Do you think it's just a play on this excitement because people want to win? I mean, what do you think? What do you guys think about the rise of this? Because it feels like there's a betting company being born almost every day. Like I've stopped keeping up on their names.
Yeah.
Like I see an advertisement like, oh, this is a new one.
You can actually bet that tomorrow there'll be a new one.
You can actually bet on. There's a bet. It should be another betting site just to bet on the new betting.
Hey, and they should create a bank where we can take those bets so that we can be told, take it to the bank.
What do you guys think about this, though?
I think, first of all, it's a pointer to the state of the economy. Because, like, when you listen to almost every radio station in the morning, there's always, it's just betting and betting and betting, send 20 bob, send 10 bob. And who does that? I mean, it is the poor of the poor. So the rise of betting companies, I think, first of all, is just indicative of where we are as a nation.
People are desperate.
People are desperate. And some of these guys are not doing this thing because they have any other option, any other choice. I mean, you're waking up and all you have is that 20 shillings.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, I can chance this thing and get 100 and feed my family. If I keep it, it can't feed my family anyway. It's a sad state of affairs.
But is betting like a legitimate jobo, though? I mean, is it like a legitimate option? And I know it's a question that has been asked a lot. Some people even justify it and they say, look, betting is just like investing. What's the difference between betting and investing? I'm investing the little resources that I have, hoping to get more in the end. It's just that there's risk involved. What's the difference between betting and investing?
I think at the back of it, you could actually, I think the motive that might propel you in betting might also propel you in investing. So I know sometimes people compare betting to investing in shares and stocks and such things. But I think to a certain extent it could be similar. So you could, I think the opportunity and thrill that exists in betting can also exist in shares, and something that you really don't know and you're hoping it will thrive and become something. So that thrill and opportunity that you are not really doing much for it, and the probability of big returns, I think it exists in both. But sometimes I think if you invest correctly, if you are thinking, you are considerate of what they're doing, you're considerate of, how is the economy going, you're considerate of this is actual work that this company is going to be doing. It's going to be serving community in one way or another. So I think that is where I think it differs from betting. Because betting, yes, you bet on life and real things that are happening, but the betting in and of itself, that game would go on without the betting. It does not depend on the betting to be sustained and everything to go on. So I think that's one of the differences that I see.
Jonathan was just saying, like, investing has value.
Yeah, investing adds value to the community,
Yeah.
while in most cases, betting, even lotteries, sometimes they don't really, it's not about adding value, it's just about amassing some money by those who are actually running the system. And that's why we usually say, you never win against the house. Because at the end of the day, I find it interesting that you can actually place bets and the company can actually say, how you guys have placed your bets, we are withdrawing this bet and we will give you your money, because they notice they are now taking a risk. they are now betting on, it will go. So even they themselves don't allow themselves to bet that, there is hope it will go this way. But they notice and they can say, hey, we know how you guys have placed your bets. We are withdrawing this bet. Yeah. So I find it interesting.
I remember growing up, there used to be, I think, only like one, like lottery company. It was called the Kenya Charity
Sweepstake.
I think it belongs to the government or something like that. You remember that? There was booths everywhere.
Didn't belong to the government. But yeah, it was there, I remember.
Oh, yeah. That was like the only. Nowadays,
Some of us had a normal childhood. We never gambled, so we wouldn't know.
You were taught hard work.
You know?
but I'm thinking about it now, and as you mentioned it, some people do think of it as legitimate business because they're desperate. They're like, okay, I have 20 bob. Let me chance it to multiply it. But I know that a lot of people who enter into gambling is not maybe trying to, because they've not found any other way of using their money. It could be a lot of it is also driven by greed. Don't you agree? And these companies know that people are greedy. They know that people want to get something for free without having to work for it. I think there's somebody who said money won is twice as sweet as money earned. And they know that we all like getting something for free. And so they play on that greed that we all have. And that way they're making crazy, crazy profits. And because there's crazy profits to be made then many companies do mushroom and come up. I remember in, I think 2017, one of the biggest betting companies in this country grossed their profits of 4.2 billion. And if you compare that to what they gave out, so they had like they had jackpots of 10 million. They gave out several of those jackpots. And then they had a mega jackpot. It was even all over the news of 130 something million that they gave out. Now compare what they gave out versus what they grossed, what they earned themselves. 4.2 billion. Just mathematically speaking,
Well, to
it's
be fair,
a rip-off.
to be fair to these companies, first of all, betting companies are businesses like any other business. Exists to make profit, and people who are bringing in money as the players and all these guys are bringing in money to the organization. And like Ramson says, the house always wins. And so they have to be created in such a way that statistically, the money we are paying out must be less than the money we're bringing in. This is not charity, this is business. So first, the aim of business, like with any other business, is to make your profit. And your profit is, for any business, your profit is a significant part of why the business exists. And so to that extent, I would say, to be fair to betting companies, the money that they retain to pay their staff and operating expenses and stuff must be significant compared to the money that is paid out.
Hold up.
To the people who
I think somebody needs to investigate him.
I
Find out
also
whether
have
he
a question,
owns a
yes.
betting good. This mushrooming of betting. No.
We might see
That's
one
not where
called
we're
Baraka
If
tomorrow.
there is any B-bets around,
That's not where we thought this conversation was going.
Back to the question is,
B-bets.
talking about profit and businesses being run to make profit, is there such a thing as immoral profits?
Well, that's a whole topic altogether on the side, because then that would apply to every other enterprise that someone will
so what I think
involved.
God is asking is there a level in any enterprise, whatever you have, that you
So-
can actually say this is now immoral, the profit you...
Yes, actually, my point is, so you make 4 point something billion, you give out less than 200 million. That is such a small percentage of what you've earned.
And, yeah.
And even if you took out your overheads, they would still be insignificant.
It's like me saying to Nairobi has how many people? It's like
7 million.
7 million people. I say, okay, each Nairobian, give me 1 shilling. This is how they think. 1 shilling from every Nairobian. And then I'll give one of you 500 bob.
Yep.
Go.
You are a thief.
Everyone gives, so I get 7 point something million. And then I give one of you 500 bob. So I'm thinking, just mathematically speaking, it's really a rip-off. But they know that we are greedy enough. I think that's the thing. I don't think it's all we can blame these companies for doing that. They know we are greedy enough. So there's fault in both sides. They know we are greedy enough to want to take that proposition seriously. Give one bob, I'll give one of you 500 bob. You know? And many people are falling for this. You know? And I wonder whether you guys know any other reason why people are gambling.
Yeah. I'd say I think the opportunity and the thrill that I think it exists in gambling and in many other things. The opportunity to make quick money and overnight money, and sometimes it's at very little risk. So I'll bet this amount of money, and if I get the jackpot, man, that's quite some money. And you know, we've grown up in that context. We've had so many stories of people who took one decision and it propelled them from poverty to, you know, great riches, and we just hope we'll be one of them. So I think that is one of them, just the opportunity that gambling presents. And then the thrill. I think some people are looking for the thrill. There is a thrill. You know, last you asked us if we've ever won something. I think I've ever won something because I actually gambled at some point when I was in campus. I tried out, but I was trying the mathematics. So I was trying to see, can this thing be mathematically done so that you win? You know, even, you know, take some money, place on this bet, and then on this bet, and then this bet.
So for you, it was not greed, it was science.
It was greed that sent me to science. And I was trying to make that. And I remember there would be a certain thrill as you were waiting for the scoreline. Because, you know, I'm the kind of football fan that watches YouTube clips later to see the highlights. But I remember how I would wait for the end of the game. Or I would just wake
As
up.
the deer pants for water.
The kind of devotion I should give to, you know, I was glad when I was told, you know, to go to the house of the Lord. That kind, I could sense there was that kind of anticipation to hear how did the game go and did I make a profit or not. So I think the thrill and, you know, some people say, you know, the thrill sometimes makes you feel alive. So, I think.
But again, just touching on that, I think there's been a shift in culture where we've made the whole making it almost like,
Oh, yes.
you know, we have to make it.
Oh, yes.
And we are in a hurry to make it. Nobody wants to put in the work. Nobody wants to be patient and wait on, you know, those little wealth built by diligence and hard work. And you just want to move from, look, I was in campus, now I'm a baller, you know. And so everyone is betting because, look, we all want to live the life. We all want, and we've tied success to material wealth. And it's, I mean, amongst the young people, you hear stories of high schoolers who've committed suicide because of betting. What were they trying to do?
Wow.
I want to be rich. I don't want to put in the work.
There are some people who bet who are not driven by wanting to be rich. There are many who perhaps want to be rich, but there are some who just want to grow the financial pool that they have. Sources ask us, I have 100 bob, I should be able to find a way to grow this to be 1,000 bob today, so that I can meet my needs today. And so I know of people who have put in money for the purpose of, my needs are more than the money I have. And I'm in such an economic environment that there's no way I can grow this to 1,000 bob without having any other alternative. And so betting has been an easy option that's available. I know there are many others like the stock markets that can come back, but not many people are familiar with them. Again, betting has become, social media has become, we can't underestimate the role social media has played in making betting and all these things accessible and easy to be found. So of all the financial alternatives that exist in the market, betting is the one that's quickest, that comes to mind quickest. And the advert on the TV says, you are putting your 100 bob, you'll get your 230 shillings after the game is finished. So I'm watching the game, I'm enjoying the game. I'm adding on top of the thrill, I'm adding the fact that so it's not a waste of time. I got a payout out of the game. So we just, yeah, we need to be aware of those two exist. There's a people that are driven by greed to be wealthy, who put in a lot of money for the big jackpot, but there are people who put in daily. You go to Nduthi guy and talk to them, the Konda, all these other guys, the students and all these people who are putting in money every other day for daily needs. Actually, they're going by with betting.
And I like what you're saying, because in other words, you're saying that some people actually do look at it as a legitimate source of income. It's like diversifying, you diversify your portfolio. So have some money on insurance, have some money on the stock here. I have some money on a farm, some crops I planted, and now there's some money I chase around with gambling. I remember one time I went to a barber shop. So the guy just before me got their cut, and then they said to the barber, let me get you your money. What they meant is they were sitting down, they wanted to go online, gamble, now get money from there and to pay the barber. It's like they have designated certain things in their lives.
Yeah.
How they're going to get money for those things is through gambling. I was shocked. As in, this is a person who now thinks this is a legitimate way for me to use, my finances. And I was like, wow, there are people who think like this. And I think, I feel like these gambling companies have also promoted that idea that this is a safe way. They have these advertisements. This is for cash out. You don't have to stress. If you feel like this is not going the way you want to, just cash yourself out.
yeah.
Or they promote the idea that it can be done well. So it almost promotes the whole idea that this thing doesn't have consequences, or you can actually avoid them. And I wonder whether that's true. Which brings me to my next question. What do you guys think are the dangers for somebody who's watching us and they're thinking, okay, me, either I gamble or me, I want to go into gambling. I think it can be done right. What do you think are the dangers somebody needs to look out for if they want to consider gambling?
I think gambling, just like with any other thing that can excite or inspire, spark a thrill, has the intrinsic danger of being addictive.
Addiction.
And that means you'll find that this is an easy thing. You'll want the same high that you found. In fact, the more you win, the more you want to win, the more you want to be there. And so that hidden in it, the ability to addict, needs that every person who is finding this as an alternative way to be aware of that risk, that this can be addictive, that I could find that I'm spending most of my time in this, most of my money in this, every opportunity I have, every money that's coming in. So people need to be aware of that as well before. And now I'm seeing even TV adverts for gambling, at least for sports gambling. They are now having that as that like now we have like the way people who advertise certain maybe alcoholic drinks or cigarettes, they have that warning that's put at the end. Now it's required.
Buyer beware.
I don't know if it's required but I'm seeing it now on TV. Then now there's to put please be aware.
Yeah, this can lead to addiction.
Of being addicted. Yeah.
Wow.
And yet they know that once you're in, there's no going out.
Yeah.
So even that caveat is so useless because they know once you're addicted, you're addicted.
Yeah. There's something that you said, Kadu, earlier about young people who have gone into gambling and they have lost all their income, and some of them
Well,
have
actually,
committed.
these are stories
Stories,
you read.
yeah.
I don't know anyone personally
Yeah.
who gambles, but just recently, I mean, there was some feature I think on one of the TV stations where there was actually a high schooler who gambled with school fees, and they lost. And now they can't go back to their parents and say, "Look, I gambled the money." So what they do? They committed suicide.
Wow.
Because I mean, you feel
Real lives
hopeless.
are lost. Yeah.
Especially if you know that. Look, my folks are poor.
Yeah.
And maybe your father sold a cow to take you to school, and then you go gamble that cash, and you lose it.
And even the guilt and the shame that comes
Yes.
from loss. You feel it's a shameful thing to say how I lost the money. And then you have the guilt to you knew
Like, were
in
you
your
robbed?
conscience-
No.
you
You
intentionally
willingly,
took
yeah,
the
yeah.
tubes and you lost
Yeah,
it. Some people have gone bankrupt. I mean, we all know stories of people who have gambled their salaries, gambled their properties,
There
gambled.
was a story actually last year. Someone made a story somewhere.
Yeah,
Of last year or the year before, of someone who gambled their wedding
money.
money, and they had to be
Woy. Was
they
it
had-
a man or a lady?
the groom. It was the groom
Poor
who,
brides.
was a groom trying to communicate something about it. He was saying, don't just waste your wedding money. It was a guy trying to check out.
So from the story was
Getting it.
he
Well, it
won.
was really
I
for
think he
better
won
for
some
worse.
money, and then now he invested a bigger amount. Now he was excited about the risk, and then it blew out on him. Yeah, and so he had to be bailed out by his boss. Like, you guy, yeah.
So it could lead to addiction. It could lead to serious loss and
Yeah.
damages to
Yeah.
your worth and
Point, yeah.
property. Even loss of lives,
yeah.
not just loss of property, but loss of income, loss of life.
Yeah, I think, and whenever such things happen, the challenge is that in the resulting after effects of it is that yes, it promises you this and that, but when you lose big, the resulting effect on your family, your relationships, they are significant. You know, trust is lost. I remember someone sharing, if you are the bride, what do you do when you realize I've married somebody who was willing to gamble all our money, and it's almost
The guy could gamble you.
and it's not too far-fetched. There are people who come up and say, you know what, I realized he had gambled this and that, and so I think that's another danger in terms of just the risk that of relationships lost as a result of failures on this other side. But I think one that I think is a significant one, yet it's usually not really seen as of much value, is the loss of value in work.
Wow.
So I think it's something that is underpinning all this.
Yeah.
Our attitude towards work, especially, Kaduye says he doesn't know people who gamble. I think I happen to know people who gamble successfully. And they have gambled and they have seen they actually make money out of this gambling thing. And in most cases, most of them don't value the work that they currently hold, or they don't see, or they just stick to it because it pays my bills. But the sense of work as something that gets something productive, and it is something that serves the community. It is something that, brings about, somebody gets a certain service because I work at a certain place, or there's this product that is helping people do this and that because I am a sales person in all this. I think that is lost, and the place of work in service to the community in many cases is lost.
And it's a shame because that's something that we've begun seeing in society today. When young people, especially young people, have been affected by this, many of them now have grown to believe that you don't need to really exert yourself in work. Many of them just need a smartphone, and they join some of these gambling sites. So their work is to sit pale mtaani with their friends, and they look for games and whatever they can do to gamble. And so we will have probably a generation of people who grow up or who mature thinking that you do not have to work. Because gambling, you're not putting anything into society. You're not making a contribution. And so we are becoming poorer and poorer, as we enrich some of these gambling organization. But as a society, we're impoverishing ourselves. And that's what people don't see. There's value in
most
work.
people see it as, but we've always wanted quick money. But I think
Get rich quick schemes.
yes, we've always not liked work, and it's like we usually, what do we call it? The cycle. It's a cycle in terms of you come into it. Part of what is driving you is your wrong relationship and view of money. So you get into the gambling as an easy way of making money. You make some money, and so you decide to stay in the gambling space because it can make you money, and it even diminishes your view of people who work. You're like, what kind of a fool goes to work, and you work for somebody 8 to 5 so that you can get what? That I make within 2 days. So those who are successful in it, in most cases, they are, looking down on work just becomes worse and worse at times.
To become lazy.
Yeah.
And if that gambling, whatever thing shuts down, that person will be left poorer because they have not learned to.
And hopeless.
And hopeless.
You know what hopelessness can do.
Wow.
Yeah, and on a bigger scale, in terms of the sort of industrial scale, a lot of the gambling companies, like someone mentioned here, like riding on a grid and stuff, But at the core of it, when the dust settles and everything is said, actually it is the poor who are taken advantage of. And so you could be actively participating in a scheme that actually defrauds the poor, that takes advantage of the hopelessness of the poor by promising a false hope. But in the greater scheme, actually, the poor are becoming poorer. In that, and that's the cycle of poverty is repeated over and over again. And you would find that even some of those companies, the place where the money is really invested is not for the poor. The poor who perhaps used charity here and there that sometimes could be a veneer that covers that. But the real money is benefiting some people out there.
Yeah, someone said gambling and this betting thingy is the rich taking money from the poor. Then at the end of the day, rewarding one of them with some insignificant amount. And it's a cycle. So every day, rob the poor, reward one of them with some little money, but because he's poor, to him it's a big deal. They don't look at the cumulative.
And then they publicize. They
exactly.
publicize that one poor who
Yes.
received something that got them out. They
Yeah.
got them out from the poverty.
Exactly. And then you're baiting the rest of the poor or not.
Who want
yes.
that? I hear this a lot on radio. You know, they give money to a few guys and they make much of the 3 guys who got the money, but they're not telling of the
How many they've
10,000,
collected.
the 10,000 others who paid and never got anything. You know, one of the things that we need to also understand is that these people are not fools. There's usually an algorithm to this thing. I think when you try out gambling, you will be successful. The first 2, 3, 4. I think they know how many times will get are enough to get you hooked.
Yes.
And the moment you have reached that threshold, for getting hooked, now they start taking your money. It's like here there's a series called Swindler something, the Tindler Swindler.
Tinder swindler.
They give you, but he knows where they will milk you. It reaches a point where you open your purse and you pour everything, to them.
And it doesn't even need an algorithm. In most cases, your greed grows. It's not like it's satisfied easily. It's that as your greed grows, so your carefulness and willingness to take even greater risk goes. So you don't even need the algorithm. Just your greed as it grows. As you see, you want more, you want more.
Quickly, somebody wants to go into gambling. We've told him the ills, but what would be the biblical counsel? Any biblical counsel you give to this person?
Yeah.
I would cluster maybe 2 groups of people. One is the one who this is an option that they are considering. I would say don't. Be patient with and try to see how you can grow the resources that you have now through the other alternative forms of investment that are there. Some include maybe shares and stock and other, even insurance.
If you have an appetite for risk.
Could be if you're that kind of a person. And then there's another group of people who are already addicted, perhaps, who may need also help of that is more who I would call maybe medical help. Some people will need medical help to snatch them from that path. First, you need to recognize that perhaps I'm addicted to gambling, and that could mean that all the monies that I'm getting, all the opportunities that I get to have money, I'm thinking of gambling as the only thing, and I'm spending too much time and too much money into that. Thirdly and lastly, the biblical counsel will be 2 Timothy, 1 Timothy 6. The whole issue about money and loving money. The scriptures don't necessarily say money is evil by itself, but that love for money. Could it be? You need to question yourself. Could it be that your desire to become wealthy is driven by greed, by selfish pursuit and stuff like that? You need to invite the Holy Spirit to this space of your life to at least zoom in and mulika that aspect of your life. Could it be? I'm not saying it is, but could it be that you actually are loving money more than you're loving Jesus? And this desire to become wealth is becoming a trap that the enemy now is becoming to lure you into gambling. Yeah.
Gentlemen, in 2 minutes, Any other biblical counsel?
Solomon was the guy with the money. I mean, he had it all. And I like what he says in Ecclesiastes 5:10. I mean, the guy is old. He looks back at life. And he says, whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. And once you start on this path of, quick gain without putting in the work, there's no turning back. And I think the end is always distraction. And so if you haven't started, let's esteem hard work. God has given us gifts. God is the one who gives us ability to make wealth. So ask yourself, what has God given me that I can actually use to make a life for myself?
Wow. Okay. One more?
I'd say 3 more. No, but I'd say, first of all, if you find you're attracted to it, watch out on, find somebody. A practical guide, I'd say, if you have people, if you have access to these guys who are seated here, have them as people whom you can talk to on your view of work. And another place you can do is there's a book by a guy called Tim Keller, Every Good Endeavor. And there's a website called Sn5.5 and Work, a good place for you to just start understanding why is work a big deal to God. So as a Christian, I'd say, start there. If you find yourself in one of those circumstances where you feel your money is not enough, I'd say, build your trust in the Lord through, verses, meditating on verses such as he says, do not love money or chase after it because, you have me. Be content with having me. Since if you have me, you have what you need for all of life and godliness. So I'd say pursue your view of work and pursue your view of what contentment actually looks like. And trust that God is with you.
I was thinking, I add one more. Maybe there are people who have been watching us and they're like, hey, okay, gambling is bad because, them, they don't gamble, However, they are involved in a way maybe they might not know in the biggest gambling of them all. They have not given their lives to the Lord, I know we've been talking about all this gambling of money and so on, but that's small compared to the other level of gambling, which is, the scripture puts it like this: what good is it for a man to gain the whole world and yet lose their soul? Can you imagine gaining the whole world or being able to have the whole world in your pocket? It's impossible.
On Bezos, Buffett.
Everything. But for argument's sake, it puts it like that. If you gain the whole world, you will not have enough to still pay for your soul. And I feel like that's the biggest gamble of them all. People who
Absolutely.
have chosen to pursue everything that the world has, but you're putting last this whole idea about being made right with the Lord. That's a gamble, my friends, because time is not in your hands. Who knows where you will be tomorrow? The Bible says, as long as it's called today, harden not your. These are the things that you do now. Don't gamble. Don't say sometime in the future. That's when I will commit my life to Christ. No, now. Don't gamble with your life, because what good is it to gain the whole world and yet lose your soul? The Bible says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And that's what we want to say. So if you're in that category, you're not in the other category, or you don't gamble your money, but you gamble with your life. That's more dangerous. We're saying maybe this episode was for you. Would you consider committing your life to God? God is waiting for you. Don't postpone it until tomorrow. So I hope today's episode made sense to you, whoever you are.
Just to say that once you give your life to God, that's a sure bet.
Okay, we should be. But makes sense though.
Drop your attached mic.
Ladies and gentlemen, for Tuesday Connect, I'm Sam, Kadu, Ramson, and Baraka, and we are out. Thank you for watching.
All right.